Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Rose Red Homestead. It have a bit of a late start today. It is late afternoon, and we are going to be doing some dehydrating. The reason that it is so late is that I washed these at about, about noon. And this is 2 bunches of cilantro right here and 2 bunches of Italian parsley right here. And I wanted them to pretty much dry naturally, and it's taken about 4 hours for them to do so. They're pretty dry. And I wanted to talk to you just a minute about how we do this, because I've already done the first step, which is to wash them and then to shake them out and to submerge them in the water, swish them around, pull them out. And I took a big old lump of dirt off of one bunch of, I can't remember which one it was. It is a good thing that we were rinsing them. So they've been out here drying for about 4 hours, and they're still somewhat damp in some places, but they're going to dry in the dehydrator. Now, the idea here is, how do we want to do these? And there's a number of ways that you can do them. And so it's up to what you want the end result to be. What do we use cilantro for? Well, sometimes we use the leaves for a garnish. So we want them to look pretty in just the whole leaves. So does that mean we pick the leaves off and just put the leaves on the tray for dehydrating and leaving the stem? Is the stem any good just by itself? Well, yes, it is. So we could do just the leaves, and then we could have a pile of stems off to one side, or we can just put them out here as they are, and once they are dry, we can decide more what we want to do with them as we get ready to put them in our airtight containers. Now this is the cilantro, and I have a, Jim brought home, and I didn't even know these existed in the grocery store, but he brought home a nice spice bottle with cilantro leaves, dried cilantro leaves. And they are a little bit crushed. They're not this full-size big leaf, but they're a little bit crushed. But when I do fresh cilantro, I just dice up the stems and use the whole thing, because the stems have flavor too. Now, when I took the stems, I have these little wire wrap things to identify them, and I put them so that they look very similar, and I did not want to get them mixed up. So I cut off about the bottom 1.5 inches, and then that's what the rest of these are. So I'm just going to put them just like this. I have dehydrated other herbs before, never cilantro and never parsley. So I may not know what I'm actually going to do until they get finished. So they're not in a single layer, but they are airy. And so I'm going to do probably about 3 trays of each one. And then I'm going to go over and stack them in our dehydrator, and I'm going to dry them on low heat, about between 95 and 100, as close to that as I can get. My dehydrator has a mind of its own, and it doesn't set things right on an individual degree. It sometimes jumps 3 or 4 degrees. So we'll see what we get when we get over there. So I'm going to finish laying these out, and then when we come back, I'll take you over to show you how I have arranged them in the dehydrator so I can keep them separate. So we will be back shortly. So here we are in the cabinet where I keep the dehydrator, and I have pulled it out a little bit so the heat can escape into the room. So the top 3, they're in alphabetical order: C, cilantro on the top, and P, parsley on the bottom, 3 trays each. And the parsley looked very similar to how the cilantro did. So I'm going to go ahead and start these now. So the time is going to be 10 hours. As I checked other people's timing and temperature, everybody said low temperature, 100 or less, between 90 and 100. And some people said, oh, they're done in 2 or 3 hours. Others said 12 hours. So the bottom line is, I don't know. But I will be able to let you know when we come back tomorrow, because it's going to be too late for us to come back tonight. It's going to be dark and the lighting won't be very good. So we're going to go ahead and start. I've got, the time is 10 hours. And the temperature is 167. Oh, no. We're going to put that way down. I'm going to go 95 degrees, and then we are going to start. Okay, so we will see you tomorrow, and I'll be able to report how long it took these at 95 degrees. So see you tomorrow. Here we are back, and I will report now to you how things went as we were dehydrating these two herbs. This is the parsley and this is the cilantro, and it is very easy now to tell them apart. The parsley is larger leaves and thicker stems, and the cilantro is a more finely dried herb and thread-like stems. So after the first 10 hours were up, they were still very damp. And so I gave them 5 more hours, but I raised the temperature to 105. And after that 5 hours, for a total of 15 hours, they still were not done. And so I thought, oh my gosh, to heck with it. And I just turned it up to 135, and they were done in just a couple of hours. Frankly, I do not see the rationale why some people were saying that these must be dehydrated at a very low temperature. I'm very practical minded, and I thought it was ridiculous that they stayed damp for 15 hours. So if I were to do it again, I would be dehydrating them at about 135, and I think it would take 4 or 5 hours and then be completely done. And unless I find something very different than that, that uncovers the reason why they might need a slow dry, then I will continue to do them at 135. But those of you with more experience, chime in here. If you have done these particular things, let us know what temperature that you use for your dehydrator. And remember, everybody's dehydrator is a little bit different. When people try to pin me down for what the temperature is and how long it is, all I can do is give an approximation based on our experience here, but your experience may be very different. So here we are now ready to put them into the jars. And I've been thinking a lot about this. So here's what it looks like, and they're very dry, they're crunchy, and there are all these stems sticking out. So I think what I'm going to do is pull the stems off, crush lightly, and just put them in this jar, crushing mostly just the leaves. Now some stems are going to get in, and that's not going to hurt a thing. But just crushing lightly and getting the leaves off the stem is what my goal is to get them into the jar. And I'm going to save the stems, and I'll decide, it's hard to pick these up when they fall because they crush as you try to pick them up. So I'm going to just do this off camera. We'll come back when I've got the cilantro done. We can take a look at it, and then we can make some further decisions. So I'll see you shortly. 1 down, 1 to go. It was quite an adventure. Jim figured out a more efficient way how to crush them. I'm going to show you that when we get to the parsley in just a minute. But here is this nest of twigs, and it was reasonably easy to pull the twigs out after they were dried. There are, of course, some little twigs here, but these are very dry, and I could break these into little teeny tiny pieces and throw them in here as well. But I thought that we would compare commercial cilantro, and you can see how tiny that is, with this that we have just done here. Now, with commercial, I have no other way to go. I have to put up with this size. But with that we have home dehydrated, even though these are much larger, I could turn them into this just by doing some chopping. Of course, the air will blow them all over the place. But I kind of like the larger size leaves anyway, and so we probably will just use what we have right here. So this was quite an adventure, and I'm definitely going to do it in a hotter dehydrator next time. Okay, so Jim's idea was to place them on this board. These leaves are bigger, the stems are thicker and longer, and then just run a rolling pin over them to crush the leaves. Brilliant, worked great. And I just did it a couple of times because I don't want it powdered. And then I can pull the stems out quite easily, like this, and the stems are bare. Some of the times I have to pull some leaves off. And some of the stems broke as well into smaller pieces. I can smell the parsley now when crushing them that way. oils in the plant give off their scent. So we have variations in size from almost full leaves to the powdered. And, and that's okay. Sometimes I will want for garnish the larger size leaves. So we can put this one in here. Whoops, getting rid of a couple of more stems. And we will be back when I'm finished filling this jar. Well, finished. So the results are right here. These stems are much thicker. I also tried to bite into one. They're very, very stringy. I will not be saving these stems. The cilantro stems that I put over on the other side of the counter are very tender and I can just bite with my tooth. So I'm probably going to put them in a separate jar and I can use them to flavor things like soups and things like that. But these are very fibrous and tough, so they're going. But let's compare the results here. So this is the results of and there are a few little stems here, but they're not going to hurt anything, of our efforts with commercial effort in parsley flakes. Here is the commercial version. It looks to me like this parsley was not the flat leaf. I can see some of the curly edges. It's also more green. But this is going to do just fine. So I'm very pleased that we have these. So here we have the results of 20 hours of dehydrating 2 different leafy herbs. And I think we have a big success. We've learned some things. Next time I will be turning the temperature up to 135 and doing it that way. I see no logical reason why we could not do that at a higher temperature. So we have the cilantro stems that are very pliable and edible. These stems that will be going in the garbage. And then we have a cup or just a little more than a cup of each of these. So success, I would say success. And let us know the green herbs the green leafy herbs and other green leafy foods that you might, for instance, I've done spinach. I think we have a video on that one as well in terms of dehydrating. So thank you so much for being with us, and onward and upward. We'll see you soon with more videos.